Hi, my name's Ashley Regan, and I'm a technical digital strategist at Fulius. I'm here to walk you through today how you can customize HubSpot's Marketing Hub specifically for the property sector. Some key takeaways you should ascertain from watching this video is you should be aware of the breadth of native functionality available within HubSpot's Marketing Hub. I'll showcase some of the power of HubSpot's marketing automation. And lastly, I'll highlight some of the advantages businesses have benefited from by having all of these marketing tools all within one platform. Within HubSpot, not only can you create custom websites, but you can create landing pages specific for each development or plot to obviously attract new potential buyers and by submitting a form on your website. As you can see here, we've mocked up an example of what that may look like, and you can easily roll out HubSpot themes to simplify the process of creating the landing pages. One key thing I want to highlight here is that you can utilize HubSpot's drag and drop builder, which effortlessly makes the process of creating a landing page very simple. As you can see here, by just dragging the relevant module across, enables you then to start customizing the landing page specific for your use case. Additionally, one feature I'd like to highlight is you are able to make use of HubSpot Smart Content, otherwise known as dynamic content, to enable you to display the right message to the right person at the right time. Now, based on our experience onboarding companies within the property development industry, we've identified that on average, it takes a visitor approximately 3 visits to a particular landing page specific to a plot to convert. With that in mind, we can start to entice individuals to submit that form by attracting them with specific offers if we know they're repeat visitors. We can do this via the use of smart content. As you can see here, if I'm to navigate to this landing page, there is no displayed message at the top. However, if I'm to revisit this landing page on 3 occasions, we can then have a custom message displayed, which could be a limited time offer to try and entice them to submit the form and express interest in a particular plot. Now, within HubSpot, you can also create custom forms. So this enables you to capture all of the analytics centered around the forms themselves, as well as the landing pages. So we can better start to understand what our conversion rates are, not only on them visiting the specific landing page or website, but also their submission and engagements with particular forms. Within HubSpot, we can create hidden properties, so we can stipulate what the development or plot is against the form, as we are fully aware that within the property sector, organizations tend to use a single form throughout all of their websites for all developments or plots. So we can utilize the same form throughout the website to avoid the need to create duplicate forms, and we can potentially use hidden properties to reference the actual property that the individual is interested in. To maximize our usage of returning visitors, what we can do is utilize HubSpot's queued progressive fields so that in the instance that a visitor has already submitted a form on the website and they've returned to submit an additional form, instead of asking the existing questions that we've already captured information against, we can use queued progressive fields to further qualify that individual by asking them replacement questions. So in this instance, if we've already captured their first name, last name, telephone number, and so forth, we might as well go ahead and start asking questions centered around their specific interest. Are they in a chain? What are their timescales for moving? Or potentially, what are their reasons for moving? Again, with the use of this function, it enables us to further qualify the individuals and take full advantage of them being a returning visitor by qualifying them as much as possible on every form submission. Additionally, with all features and tools within HubSpot, we are able to get specific analytics around the tools themselves. So as you can see here, we get full performance analytics centered around the specific forms, so we can better maximize our conversions by understanding how they're performing at the moment. When we go down the route of creating bespoke emails, which is quite fundamental as part of actually the property development nurturing journey, HubSpot has some nifty tools that enables us to simplify the process of creating the actual email assets themselves. Now, very similarly to the landing pages as highlighted a second ago, we're able to make use of smart rules to ensure that we display personalized emails specifically for our recipients. One example to highlight here is that if we know the individuals are actually interested in houses and not flats, providing they're a member of the relevant list, we can then show them a different image within a singular email. This is proven to minimize the amount of time taken to create email campaigns because it minimizes the need to create duplicate emails by creating variations of the same email but with different images, with different text, with different call to actions. Instead, within a single email and use of dynamic content, we can display the relevant content in that email specifically to the recipient and their actual interests. Now, when we go down to the route of automation, HubSpot has an extremely powerful tool that enables us to utilize all of the information that we hold at an explicit and implicit level to ensure that we nurture the individual through that relevant journey. Some examples of the intelligence that HubSpot captures out of the box is the page visits. And as mentioned, if we're aware that it's a returning visitor and they've visited this page 3 times, in that instance, we can then choose to enroll them into this necessary workflow. We could do it centered around specific engagement with forms, whether the form was submitted or it wasn't submitted. And additionally, we could do it centered around whether there is only open deals against an individual. Within HubSpot, you have many different data points to reference to ensure that you make that journey very tailored specifically for that individual. Now, some examples of some automation available out of the box. We are able to obviously add delay steps to obviously send out the actual emails or the contents at a regular cadence. We are able to utilize the intelligence captured by HubSpot to determine whether the individual clicked on that email. Now, as you can see, as they progress through the workflow itself, we can start to actually include them in ads audiences. This enables us to automate the process of retargeting them with the specific message that's relevant to the recipient. And a few other examples out of the box. We are able to actually determine the degree of engagement or the lack of engagement within an email to actually route them through to the relevant outcome. Some examples here is if the recipient has actually bounced, so the email never got received, we can then add them to a particular list to take further manual actions as a result. If they did open and click the email, we can then again add them to a relevant list so that we can treat them as a high priority because we're aware that they are thoroughly engaging with our content. In the instance that they've opened but not clicked the content, we may then look to take the route of sending an SMS message to try an alternative channel of communication. In the instance, let's say they have responded to an email, now within HubSpot, you are able to start sending WhatsApp messages so that we can send them again a high tailored message to them based on their high engagement. Key thing to highlight here is HubSpot enables us to query not only the information held against the contacts, but the sales and marketing activities that have taken place to ensure that we nurture them through the relevant journey. Now, one key question we do encounter quite often is, does HubSpot enable us to have one database that we can manage that can update numerous sources that reflect that information? HubSpot now has a feature known as HubDB, which is continually to be developed, that enables us much more powerful functionality. One example I'm going to highlight here is within the table. If we have all of our plots listed in a singular table, if we're to update the status reflected against a particular property, and if we're to update the landing page storing this information, you'll notice it currently states it's taking inquiries. Once I've hit refresh, you'll notice that it's now changed to sold. All of this can be managed within a singular table, enabling the user of the system to manage a single source that can update numerous places that the information is listed, and this itself can also be automated. One example that we commonly encounter is if the deal progresses to an actual sold status, that can then update our table, and again, this can then update all of the sources that reflect this information. This has proven to, again, minimize the time spent to manage all of the information that may populate specific development or plot information, and it enables you to actually manage this without any coding knowledge at all. Another thing I'd briefly like to highlight is that HubSpot does have native functionality to enable us to manage not only our paid advertisements, but against the paid advertisements, because all this information is collated within one system, we can start to better understand our return of investments against the paid advertisements. When we are able to track not only the marketing, but also the sales activities and the progression of the deals themselves, HubSpot's then equipped to return that information so that we can start to better understand our return of investment. I also want to highlight that HubSpot has native social media functionality, whereby we can go into great detail in regards to the performance of the advertisements and the social posts. But equally, you can schedule posts natively within HubSpot to manage a single calendar. Another feature I'd like to highlight is HubSpot has campaign features that enables us to associate numerous assets from quite a comprehensive list made up of advertisements, emails, landing pages, social posts, and so forth against a single campaign, so we can better, again, start to understand the return on investment. This has proven very popular within the property sector because we can create individual campaigns specific for developments to understand the whole performance of the development itself. So we can start to associate all of the relevant assets to a particular development. And this enables us again to start understanding the total performance against this campaign. For example, how many sessions has the assets actually generated for us, going on to closed deals, and then the attributed revenue associated to those deals. Lastly, in the flavor of analytics and reporting, a new tool recently released by HubSpot, currently still in the beta stage, enables us to create custom journeys to understand the velocity and the actual time spent within those stages. If we take a common example we encounter, where a potential buyer would have visited a particular landing page, if not a website page, they then may view a form on that page itself. Ideally, they would have interacted with that form, which would have led to a submission. And off the back of that submission, they would have received an email, and again, ideally, clicked the contents in that email and gone on to an opportunity. Now, this journey itself can be fully customized. We can apply particular filters so that we can actually, in isolation, review the performance of individual developments. But making this custom journey enables us to actually understand what that journey path looks like for us specifically as a business. And then when we drill down into the results within the report, as you can see here, we can start to understand the velocity, the number of contacts progressing within that journey, as well as the time spent between each of those stages. Empowering businesses with this information enables them to not only better forecast, making them aware of the actual average lead times and the conversion rates, but it also enables them to better utilize this intelligence to dictate their processes, both within their marketing and sales efforts. Another out-of-the-box feature that has proven very popular amongst our property development customers is the attribution reporting. Out of the box, HubSpot does an exceptional job of enabling businesses, specifically marketing departments, to ask those common questions around how much revenue, how much results has our hard efforts generated. Out of the box, utilizing HubSpot's attribution reporting, we can ask a lot of the common questions that these departments encounter. Some examples would be, what asset types created the most contacts? What type of interactions happened before contact was created? This stuff is centered around the contact create. Additionally, we can start to understand what touch points individuals had up to the point of a deal being created. And then equally as powerful is starting to understand what revenue each of these touch points attributed to. So if I utilize one of these as an example, which asset types drove the most revenue for my business, upon selection and then going on to next, HubSpot will then start to generate the results for us so we can start to understand what power our actual marketing efforts have attributed towards genuine bottom line revenue. Appreciate your time. If you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us.